You'd be the first one to see it watching his stream right now. So we're going to continue streaming. Look at that lightning as well. So again, individual notch south of Corville there along 249, which I believe is where David is headed. There's Spring Cypress Road. There's Stubner Airline Road. So this is the area I'm looking at. David, what's your exact location right now? Are you headed to 249, and when you're there, you're headed due northwest?
Well, we are west and southwest of 249. We are northwest of the Northwest Belt. We're on Jones Road, and we're driving north into the belly, really, of this storm here that we were talking about. I'm also seeing the intensification of the storm to the west of us that you speak of a moment ago. But we're right on the edge of where that storm is that we've been following, and we've seen several cloud-to-ground lightning strikes just ahead of us as well. At this time, I'm trying to find a flag.
Yeah, it's just
to know how the wind is doing. You need a flag to kind of orient yourself.
And it's just pulling in. It's pulling that southwestern cell into the hook. If you see that, this is what happens. It's pulling it into the hook, and we just don't have strong low-level rotation out of this. You may have to wait until this cell matures and moves northeast. I am starting to look at Montgomery County as the eventual place where this cell ends up and maybe becomes more organized. Again, it's just, it doesn't have that low-level rotation right now, which we're thankful for. Still, no doubt, some heavy winds, but it's pulling in that southwestern cell down there, just southwest of Jersey Village. So you guys may have to continue to follow this thing north and east, no doubt, as that moves north and east quickly.
They're all dead.
Yes, and the other thing I'm seeing are some showers, some smaller showers extending from Mission Bend to the north and east towards the northwest loop. Okay, those are they're moving rapidly to the north up towards these storms. And in about 20 to 30 minutes or so, I could see a situation where those small showers would then bump into the bigger storm and intensify it. And then after that, you could see some rotation occur as well.
Flags were dead, David. Flags were just hanging.
Just hanging, okay. Okay, so Colin, at this time we saw a flag or two in the area. Yeah, there's another one. The wind is hardly blowing, so we don't have the inflow into this storm right at this particular moment to cause it to rotate, and that's good. that is good. For those
David,
of you in Jersey Village, we're following this storm very closely. If there's a strong southeast wind blowing into the storm, we will be much more concerned about a potential tornadic situation. But at this time, the winds are still. We just aren't seeing anything like that.
Yeah, David, you're exactly right. I'm looking at some indications here on our meso analysis, and over the next few hours, it does look like the ingredients for severe weather are still getting ramped up here. So we're looking at low-level rotation will increase here in just a little bit. And again, what we're seeing is these storms, they're not fully mature just yet, but they will continue to mature. And I am watching that cell that's moving north and east now in towards eventually Montgomery County. So as you see that, in towards eventually Montgomery County, it's these cells back right now. In fact, look at that, just south and west of the Woodlands now. We're looking at it from that radar site right there up near Bush Airport too, and what we're watching is to see if we see any rotation in it. Again, as you said, no tight low-level rotation, but as of right now, I'm definitely seeing those storms, that southwestern storm being picked up into that cell, and again, this cell's being drawn into it. So as that matures, we're going to continue to see that. All right, David, back to you, and we're going to keep an eye on your tracker.
Yeah, and I see that cell that you're talking about. So I think what we're going to do when we make it to 249 is do a bit of a loop-de-loop. We're gonna go back south on Highway 249, and I think what we're going to do is intercept that cell that's to the south and west of our location that you say is getting closer to the one that we're on right now. And so that's what we're going to be doing here in just a bit. It appears that the storm that we've been following Doesn't appear to be ramping up at this particular time into anything tornadic, and that is good news again, as we say. And typically what happens in this situation is the storm that's on the southward flank ends up being a more dominant storm. I'm anticipating that that will happen. So when we get up to Highway 249, we're going to do a loop-de-loop and head back to the south and east, and then we'll be in a better position to get a better look at this cell that's coming in from the south and west.
Yeah, do you have that? Okay, so what just came in here? Is that a new warning? So new severe thunderstorm warning for southeastern San Jacinto County, parts of Montgomery, Liberty, and Harris County. So that is the cell David is on, right? But this is the northeastern side of it. This is the cell that's a little further up to the north and east. There you go. There's the new warning polygon. It does include the woodlands. Quarter-size hail. Wind speeds, again, in this storm, it looks like as of some of the other storms today, they're going to be less than severe limits, less than 50 miles an hour. But right now, again, still seeing a severe thunderstorm warning now that's going to continue, and that's going to go over the woodlands. So let's put a track on it. The storm's moving north and east. It continues to move north and east at 50 miles per hour. So again, these storms, you're going to want to stay away from exterior windows and walls. Don't try to get out and see it. They're moving too far to the north and east too quickly. Leave it to someone like David to try to catch up to these storms. Kingwood at 1050, New Caney 1055. So really in Kingwood in just a moment here, you're in parts of it. Roman Forest 1059, Plum Grove 1105, Cleveland at 1118, Hightower by 1125. Let me draw that track right over the woodlands as well, because I mean you are right there if you're in the woodlands. This storm is going to lift a little more to the north as well. If we put it on a loop here, it could lift a little more to the north. In fact, it is. So that warning, honestly, could have been almost drawn a little further to the north as well. These storm motions are tricky, but it looks like that's going to lift over the woodlands as well. So let me draw a new one on there over the northern sides of this cell. And again, I think it's going to go more north of that northeast track of that warning. So the woodlands 1053 or thereabouts. 1053, so in a few minutes here, you're right on the northern edge of it. If you're in the woodlands, let us know what you're seeing. We're now streaming on Facebook and digital on ABC13.com on just about everything. So let us know what you're seeing if you're in the woodlands. Chief Meteorologist Travis Herzog is here. He's getting data pulled up as well. We'll take him when we have him. Also, David's moving in the direction of these storms. Again, as these move into Montgomery County, they'll become my greater concern. I think these storms will become our supercells. And again, if you're in the woodlands, this storm has quarter-size hail, so you're going to want to park your cars under a covering if you can. It looks like if we have a hail core in this, it is going to be right focused there, just west of the East X Freeway, just east of Spring, and there you go. Right in that pocket is where that is. And David, tell us where you are now. They just issued a severe storm warning on that cell, but these cells are all kind of combining and following trend. What does your decision making look like at this point as a chaser? This is a tough decision. I know as a chaser, this is tricky. What do you think you're going to do here?
Well, Colin, you know, I'm a little attracted towards the smaller storms that have a lot of lightning with them.
Right.
So what we're doing, we're getting on Highway 249 right now. We're going to go down about maybe a mile or so, and then we're going to sit tight for just a bit to see what happens with this storm that's coming in from our south and west. Now,
right
the storm that I'm talking about that's coming in from our south and west.
I see exactly the one you're
west
on.
and northwest of Jersey Village.
Yep,
yes.
moving up towards
so
Cypress.
We're going to come south on 249.
Yep, you've got it, moving towards Cypress. I agree, and what David said earlier, David, you're right. The southwestern storms and the southern edge of these storms typically will cut off more the inflow and instability, and they'll become the dominant storms. I think you're doing the right thing here. That storm northwest of Jersey Village and moving north towards Cypress. So you're on 249 moving southeast now, and you're going to get off and move due south then?
Yeah, we're heading southeast at this time, and we're just doing a loop because it doesn't do us any good to see anything if you're embedded in a bunch of heavy rain. If you're in the heavy rain, all you're seeing is heavy rain. So what you want to be is south of these storms, looking back to the north. Here comes a big puddle. And so that's what we're doing right now is we're repositioning ourselves. It's amazing how even with just a moderate rain, you can get huge puddles on a highway as busy as 249, but that's what we just went through just a moment ago.
Yeah, wow. I mean, and the puddle there too, the ponding in the roads, this is a perfect example. You don't have to have a flash flood warning. If you see ponding on highways, that can certainly be dangerous as well. We have a bunch of people joining us on Facebook now, David, so you're aware of that as well. We're going to continue streaming this and covering this as David's headed up towards those cells. Severe thunderstorm warning continues. That's going north and east. It's going up towards the direction of the Woodlands, and right now that storm is really picking up, and sure enough, heavy intensities right over Spring now, lifting to the north as well. Let's take me on camera here in the Weather Center if you guys get a chance. We've got max full. That's okay too, a double box if you want to. Tornado watch continues until 3 p.m. You've got one severe storm warning that includes Montgomery, Liberty, Harris, and San Jacinto. There it is. And it's moving north and east, and I think it's moving more due north than northeast now. So that cell does have more of a hook shape there, as you can see, but I'm not quite as concerned about rotation in that one just yet. Again, these cells are running into each other, and David is now moving southwest of that, where this storm has a little more rotation near Cyprus. The good news in what we've seen so far this morning, we've had low-level rotation start to pick up in these supercells, but they're too close together, so they're not discrete enough. So what's happening in your rain-free updraft on the southwestern corner of these storms, where you will get rotation to the ground, you're getting storms further to the south and west being pulled into that updraft. So you're getting rain-cooled air, rain, and maybe even some hail being pulled into those updrafts of uninterrupted warm air where you'd see rotation to the ground. This is what happens sometimes when storms run close together. It limits the tornado threat, and sometimes that's good news. We'll take it. This is the southwestern side that I'm circling here near Cyprus, where if that cell were all alone, that'd be the hook of the hook echo, and that's where rotation would reach potentially the ground. But because this cell to the south and west is now being pulled into it, you're seeing it mitigate some of that tornado threat because it's having to recycle and build into the supercell. So right now that tornado threat remains low. If you're in the Woodlands, New Caney, and you're in that severe thunderstorm warning, I don't want you to be as concerned about the tornado threat out of this. Go to the lowest central portion of your home, away from exterior windows, and you should be fine. This severe storm warning continues until 11:30. Right now, it is not overly intense. Yes, the warning states hail could be larger, but right now I'm seeing hail may be smaller than nickels or dimes. Now, the hail could be as large as quarters. 1-inch hail is how they issue a warning, and the wind speeds up to 45 or 50 miles an hour. But at this point, we're not seeing the hail. Thankfully, we did in Jersey Village earlier, where it was up to ping pong ball size hail, and Katy, golf ball size hail. So again, that's the storm moving north and northeast now. That's the storm that has a severe warning on it. I am seeing this storm down near Cyprus. Do you see how it looks a little more like a hook? We're seeing a little more torquing of the storm and some low to mid-level rotation. But as of this point, because those cells south and west of that are being pulled into it, what that does, and if you're a storm chaser, this is something we look for. That is being pulled into the hook. So now the hook has to recycle, and you're not getting that rain-free base in that updraft region. So certainly that's some good news right now. As you guys continue to watch all this, tornado watch continues until 3, but this is a perfect example of what happens when the cap breaks, right? Like last Sunday, the cap held. This is why the cap is our friend. Now, luckily, we're getting some rainfall that helps us out. Not too heavy to the point where we're seeing flash flooding. We have 2 flood advisories, but we may see ponding on the roads. So if you're driving on freeways this morning, just be careful out there. Honestly, if I had my preference, I don't want you guys out there right now. Just be careful with it, okay? Just be careful with where you are and if you're getting out on the roads. This storm is right near the Woodlands, this severe storm warning, and you're not in the warning per se. Well, it's right over you, but look at this. Look at how it's near Shenandoah and right there near the Woodlands. So drawing a track northward, I have it in the Woodlands right now, but the heaviest amount of the storm, the heaviest side of the storm is right now right south and east of the Woodlands. We're talking right across I-45 and just south near Sawdust Road, if you know where that is, Robinson Road, Grogan's Mill Road, and I-45, and then east towards the Hardy Toll Road, and then the East X Freeway. So that severe warning continues. Let's clear that off so you can see it. And again, David is watching this cell back here, and I think he's doing the right thing. If this one were to pop up rotation, it'd be hard to see, at least at this point, as rain is being pulled into it, right, from the southwest. Let's pull up rotation and see what we can see from that one. And again, what I want to see is this storm, even though it's pulling in some cells to the south and west, is it still have a little rotation? I'm seeing a little bit near Jersey Village, okay? So a little broad rotation near Jersey Village as we sample our Doppler radar speeds. Nothing pronounced, so there you go. So that would be the pocket, and again, David's hanging around there. You have the tracker live there on the left side of your screen. David, if you can hear me, we're still just waiting as that, it looks like the northern supercell headed to the woodlands is going to be more of a severe storm threat. It is certainly a supercell, but the cell you're headed towards near Cypress, once it pulls in some of that rain on the southwestern side, looks like you'll have to wait and see if it cycles and if we do see rotation there, but it may be a little while. What are you seeing?
Yeah, and just to let you know where I am, I'm on FM 1960. I just passed Perry Road, and we're moving in the general direction of Jones Road and Windfern Road. Okay, so we're on the northwest side. We're on the north side of Jersey Village there, and we are headed towards that storm. If you can see what we're looking at, notice the lack of heavy rain over here. We've got somewhat of a lowered cloud base that I'm looking at right now, and there's just a lot of lightning. We're seeing a lot of cloud to ground lightning in an area that's not seeing much rain. So if nothing else, many times you're dealing with these storms, you want to get outside and do something. Oh, it's not raining that bad, let me go outside. Well, this is proof positive that you shouldn't do that, because a lot of lightning could occur at any moment. Now, one thing I'm seeing out my right window, so that would be me looking to the north and northwest, is what appears to be a lowered cloud base here. So what we're going to do is make a right turn. Let's see if we can get a better look at that. So if you just bear with me here just for a moment, we're actually turning right back onto Jones Road. I believe we were on Jones Road just a little while ago.
Yeah,
and we are going to get a look. Wow, I can see it out my right window. You're going to get an excellent look at a lowered cloud base here that we will need to keep an eye on. Now, are you seeing anything on velocity? I'm not really seeing a lot on velocity at this time to say that, hey, there's some rotation here.
There's a little. I
Okay.
want you to keep getting in position, because you're getting a better view there. And again, like I said, it's going to be hard briefly because we have rain coming down. I also want you to be in a position where you can get a little northeast, and if you need to, because it looks like we're starting to get that southwestern cell wrapped in here. And I can just see this cell maturing and rotation right here on the southwestern sides. And I can see this supercell moving north and east. You see that where it's drawn in those cells? I can see it maturing and trying to get a weak echo region barely southeast of you. So I just want you to be able to have a road to get northeast as this lifts into Montgomery County.
Well, one thing we do have in this area are a bunch of roads which go several different directions. So we will be able to change direction and get in the right spot if we need to. What we're doing right now, we're heading north on Jones Road, and you do see one lowered cloud base there on the camera. But what we're going to do is slow down and try to see if we can point the camera to the north and west, because there's an even bigger lowering there that I was trying to get you guys, get a good vantage point where you guys can actually see it. A little hard to do with all these trees out here. But if you see on the left-hand side of your screen how the dark area is getting a little bit more pronounced, and just on the other side of those trees is, in fact,
can we take that shot full?
a lower cloud base.
Yeah, let's take that shot full if we can. Look at that base right there. So a lower cloud base as David heads towards, again, where the supercell's trying to wrap up, and it's trying to pull in those cells to the south and west of this storm. Chief Meteorologist Travis Herzog's here as well. We've got all of us here in coverage, myself, David, and Travis, and we'll keep an eye on radar here. But this cell is not done at all. Just because we haven't had a warning yet, a tornado warning, doesn't mean it's not developing. These cells are going up as we speak, and David's right in the right spot there. Yeah, boy, you guys, luckily you do have roads, as you said, north and east, south and west. That's your cloud base, though. We can double box that again if you want to. We've got radar here. We've got one severe storm warning that goes from Montgomery County, northern parts of Harris, towards San Jacinto and Liberty until 11:30, and that one is lifting more northeast. Now the woodlands, you're getting a little heavy rain.
Okay, there it is.
Eastern parts. There you go. There you go. So you're seeing
what we do here, Matt.
Okay, so David is now, he's talking to his driver as they're just in this area nearing Cypress, where it looks like we're trying to get some, it looks like that storm's trying to hook up a little bit more right there, but still not seeing strong low-level rotation. But there is a little notch there. And again, he's looking at the base there as we continue to watch this storm. Again, we're teaming up on this and watching this very closely, as no likely tornado watch lasts until 3 p.m. So we still have 4 hours to go on this. Chief Meteorologist Travis Herzog is here, and when he's ready, we'll take him as well and watch this as that watch continues. Flood advisory continues, and again, even though we don't have flash flood warnings, there's definitely going to be some ponding on the roads. There's going to be some slick spots. Please be careful if you do have to be out and about and you're going through a strong storm. But again, on radar there, I'm not seeing an indication of rotation at least yet. Let me pull up wind speeds again of that hook. And yeah, just not seeing anything pronounced at this point, which is fine. David, what is your exact location now? It looks like you guys have kind of just stopped right there to wait.
Okay, let me tell you where we are. We're pointing in a northwest direction right now. We're Jones Road and Cypress North Houston Road.
Yeah.
And what we're trying to give you a good vantage point, a good look at, is a jagged lowered cloud base, even lower than the base that I was showing you just a moment ago. It's a rain-free base, and that's the type of lowered cloud that many times you can get rotation and many times you can get tornadoes from. Now, I've been looking at it on radar as well, and luckily we're not seeing any rotation with it, and that is great news. But anytime we see those lowered cloud bases, we get just a little concerned that something may be starting to cook up there. And of course, you know, with the radar, I mean, the radar is going to be just a little bit behind most of the time. I mean, someone is probably going to see this developing if they know what they're looking at even before the radar, and that is the reason why we're out here, is to try to get a look at what's happening here as it's happening and give people the most advanced warning that you could ever get.
Yeah, and certainly, you know, these storms, they're still in the process of organizing. And like I said earlier, luckily you guys are in the right spot and you guys are being safe. These supercells are not as discreet as they could have been. And knowing how they're following each other there, they're kind of limiting each other's potential. You know, we see decent hook echoes and supercells developed, and all of a sudden to the south and west, you see more cells being pulled in. As of right now, I don't see one that's really taking dominance over the others. They're all kind of running together again. And you know, if we can get through this without individual cells popping up, we're going to be in good shape. You're still watching those cells up to the north right now, up north of Jersey Village and Humble. Those are going in towards the Woodlands in Montgomery County. And those are some loud thunderstorms that we're seeing right now. No doubt, those are loud storms. They continue to move through the area. Chief Meteorologist Travis Herzog.
Can I interject something?
Go ahead, and then we'll let Travis jump in here too.
Yeah, the other thing that I'm seeing on radar, and you guys will have to keep a close eye on that, and I will eventually be on these storms, are the ones that have popped up around the Rosenberg area, okay? Those are the ones that are located in a better position to potentially become tornadic later on. And then there's some other ones down towards the Victoria area that we will need to eventually watch as well. So, so far, the ones that we've been on, they've had lower cloud bases. There's been some mid-level rotation, but not much low-level rotation. We have not seen any funnel clouds or anything like that yet, and that is good news. But the ones that are farther south, near Rosenberg, and the other bigger one that's near the Victoria area, those are going to be more isolated. They'll be able to draw in all of the moisture and instability in the atmosphere, and they're probably located in an area where there's better inflow, and so that those might have a better chance eventually of rotating and becoming tornadic storms. So that's just a little something that I'm looking at on the radar. Those are approaching Sugar Land as we speak, the first two near Rosenberg. They're not tornadic just yet, but they'll be the ones that we'll need to watch in about 30 to 45 minutes or so.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And still watching those cells, again, you're up to the north, but what David was just mentioning, I need to move down there, are these cells developing. Look at this, isolated in Victoria, and it looks like they placed the tornado watch perfectly. Good thing they included our southern counties, because those cells, I tell you what, those are going to be moving north and east, and that one looks like serious business now, headed up towards Edna and El Campo. Travis, you're seeing those cells too. What are your thoughts on those?
Yeah, I think the southwest is the spot to watch for any potential tornadic development here in the next few hours. So what we're seeing from a very broad view is we're now beginning to see winds increasing off of the Gulf of Mexico. So let's walk over here. You'll see these little filaments of rain coming in from the south, almost little streams of showers. As those intersect the main area of storminess that we've been monitoring north of the I-10 corridor, that's going to want to cause a little more twisting in the atmosphere when those collisions occur. And we're beginning to see the signs that that's about to happen here in northern Harris County. So we're watching that part in northern Harris County very carefully. As you've seen from Colin and from David, they've been doing an excellent job keeping you well informed of what's happening with these storms. Right now, we just have that one active severe thunderstorm warning. This was the storm that earlier was near Spring and the Woodlands. The warning here was for the potential of some large hail. It's looking very messy and disorganized on radar at this time. That is a good thing. We do not want these to look organized because that means they will likely start producing more significant weather. As it stands, we are under that tornado watch until 3 o'clock this afternoon, but it's these next few hours where we're going to see the prime window of opportunity for significant storms in and around Houston and the surrounding suburbs. As we look back in northwest Harris County, where David Tillman is positioned, this is where we've been watching things very closely for the possibility of some twisting in the sky. But on radar, we have not yet seen that materialize. Yes, the clouds are low to the ground. They look rather ominous, a little bit scary, but so far more bark than bite. Let's hope that holds true. But as the atmosphere continues to warm up and sunshine pokes through that layer of fog we've had this morning, it's more likely that we're going to see these storms intensify. The expectation has been that this is going to happen as the storms move east of Houston, so we'll see if that happens. But here's a look at our Doppler winds, and we're not seeing anything right now that would have us show immediate concern for any signs of low-level rotation. When you see that rotation in the lowest levels of the atmosphere, that can indicate in this kind of environment that a tornado is wanting to form. Another thing we're not seeing anymore is the hail. On our hail analysis, there's just not much popping up. Earlier, we had confirmed golf ball size hail on the west side of Houston, around the Bear Creek area, and those pockets of hail have also moved on off and dissipated. So right now we're in a bit of a lull in terms of severity of the storms, but things are certainly ramping up. Another encouraging sign is on our color-coded satellite. We saw that huge explosion of storms from the supercells earlier on the north side. Those are pushing off and even showing some signs of weakening. We have not yet seen these bright shades of orange and these darker black colors begin to emerge, but you look to the southwest, as Colin and David were just talking about, and we're starting to see some signs that those storms are building pretty quickly into the atmosphere in the vicinity of Victoria, tracking right up the 59 corridor towards Jackson County, Wharton County. We'll be keeping a careful eye on those storms for you as they move off quickly in that northeasterly direction. We can also get some clues about what's happening based on visible satellite, and what we've been noticing is that we're starting to see clearing of the sky here in our coastal counties. That's not what we want because that allows more sunshine, more heat to get into the atmosphere, and that causes the air to start rising. And if it can rise high enough, quick enough, it will develop some thunderstorms, and some of those could begin to rotate and produce severe weather. So far this morning, most of the activity has been along and north of the I-10 corridor, and the storms have not gotten down to the surface. We call those surface-based storms when you see a lot of upward motion coming straight up from the ground. They've been a little bit on the elevated side, which means they're rooted a little bit higher up in the atmosphere, and that's why we've seen the hail threat like what we saw yesterday. There were lots of elevated thunderstorms yesterday. Maybe you found yourself underneath one of those hailstorms. We've seen something similar so far this morning, but as soon as we start seeing more surface-based storms, that means that they form closer to the ground and begin to push upward. That'll be the biggest concern for the possibility of getting some tornadoes. So the Storm Prediction Center has put all of southeast Texas on notice for the potential of not just any kind of tornado, but what they call intense tornadoes, meaning that you're getting into a larger side of the EF scale. Now, we think that's most likely going to materialize off to the northeast of Houston later today into the evening hours, but it still is possible around here, so we'll just continue to keep a watchful eye on what's going on. Back to radar, we still have just this one warning. We're seeing some growth of the storm now over Fort Bend County. We're also seeing some growth of the showers in our coastal counties, and then the one to watch is the one that's coming out of away from Victoria County. It's also begun to produce lightning, and as soon as you start seeing lightning coming up, that's a sign that the storm has punched higher up into the atmosphere. It's beginning to get into some colder air where there's some ice crystals bouncing around, and then you get the lightning, and that's a sign that this is beginning to develop rapidly and could potentially turn severe. So we're keeping a close eye on that one for you down there in Edna and over towards El Campo, as that storm will be lifting your way here over the course of the next hour. Here's a look at FutureTrack. It's done a fairly good job of sampling where most of the storm activity has been so far today, and we're going to go hour by hour through the timeline progression here. So this is what it shows by 1 o'clock. Notice we're still seeing a lot of storminess in and around Houston, including on the south side, which might be what it's picking up on, is that storm that's been developing near Victoria and moving off to the northeast. Go to the next hour. 2 o'clock, still seeing signs of significant storminess in and around Houston. And as Colin's been pointing out, when these storms congeal and get closer together with one another, they start competing for resources, and you end up with more of a hail and heavy rain, street flooding type threat than a tornado threat. And so as these storms start to cluster together, that will decrease the tornado threat just about everywhere except in one spot, and that's on the south side of the storms, where you still have this warm, moist air feeding in from the Gulf of Mexico. So if we do see this clustering of storms materialize as the computer model is indicating, we're going to see that tornado shift start pushing the tornado threat start shifting southward into our coastal counties. So we're keeping a close eye on that for you. By the time we get to 3 o'clock, we start to see the most intense storms now east of I-45. So west of I-45, you're most likely in the clear by the time we get to 3 o'clock, and that is also the expiration time of our tornado watch. That doesn't mean, though, that we won't see it extended, expanded, or reissued if this slower computer model verifies, because you'd still have that potential for tornadoes in parts of eastern Harris County, Liberty County, Chambers County, and then into the Golden Triangle and eastward into Louisiana. As we get towards 4 o'clock, we're starting to see a lot of the activity dwindle locally, but still some intense storms over towards Sabine Pass. By the time we get to 5, 6 o'clock, still seeing some rain in our coastal counties, but things are beginning to clear out from I-45 westward. In fact, you may even get a little healthy dose of sunshine later this afternoon as some drier air begins to punch in. So 6 o'clock in the evening, we should be looking at mainly a rain-free radar. So it's just over these next few hours where you want to stay weather aware. When you're put under a watch, what that's indicating is that you need to prepare for the possibility that this kind of weather, tornadoes, could form in any of those stronger thunderstorms that do begin to rotate. Doesn't mean you're going to get a tornado. The odds that you personally cross paths with a tornado is very low, even when you're under a watch. But we need to all be alert, because we can't pinpoint exactly where those tornadoes could pop up. We just know that the environment over all of southeast Texas could support those rotating supercell thunderstorms that could lead to tornadic activity. So make sure you have the ABC13 Houston News app to get weather alerts onto your phone. Also, earlier I was getting indications from people in Katy as the storms got really heavy there. Your satellite feed went down, the power was going out. You can still stream us through that app on your smartphone. So as long as your phone is charged up, and if it's not, get it charging now. If your signal goes down, whether it's satellite, cable, or you just lose power, you can always get us on your cell phone, because it should still have power, should still be working, and you can stream our live updates on there as well. So here we go, looking at the severe thunderstorm warning again that is in effect for northern Harris County, eastern Montgomery County. Lots of lightning there. Based on the hail analysis, we're seeing if there is any hail left in this storm, it's probably pretty small, more like dime or pea-size type hail. But we're going to continue to watch what's happening off to the southwest, because this is the zone where we're starting to see a new flare-up of storms. We are getting some shower activity closer in towards Sugar Land, up towards Houston, but so far not seeing any signs that those showers have been able to punch up higher into the atmosphere and get into that more unstable air that can cause the more significant severe weather. So we're in okay shape right now, but we want to continue to keep you calmly informed and aware of what's going on, because of that possibility that we could see at any time one of these storms begin to really rotate and spin up and possibly produce sort of tornadic activity. You'll also notice that we have this green polygon here on the southwest side, west and southwest side of Houston. So let me kind of step out over here. We can pull the camera view back out, and I'm going to zoom down onto what we're seeing over in this spot. So this is a flood advisory. So we have a flood advisory that's also in effect. Let's see, about another 30 minutes. This flood advisory is in effect here for the northwest quadrant, basically, of Houston, Harris County. And that is from that earlier heavy thunderstorm, that severe thunderstorm that first started to produce that golf ball size hail on the west and northwest sides of town. Now we're seeing rain free pretty much in that entire polygon. So the threat of street flooding is certainly subsiding, but this would be a spot that would be favored for a quick rebuilding of ponding on the roadways as additional storms move over later today, because this is the same spot that got hit with hailstorms yesterday and then again this morning. So in the past 24 hours, we've seen upwards of 2 to 3 inches of rainfall in this part of Houston and Harris County. So that's where that flood advisory currently is in effect. This is the only active severe thunderstorm warning that we have. So watch out in Cleveland. You're about to get some loud rumbles of thunder and the possibility of some small hail. Again, our hail analysis has not been showing that same level of hail activity that we had earlier when the golf ball size hail popped up. Often when these storms initially develop, as they first push high up into the atmosphere, that's when they're going to produce their largest hail. And these storms are pretty far along in their life cycle, so less and less likely that these will be producing the golf ball size hail. More likely they're producing the smaller pea-size hail as we look at ahead over the next hour. So those are tracking right up the 59-69 corridor out of Montgomery County into northwest Liberty County. For those of you in Cleveland, these are not the kind of storms that we'd be concerned about tornadic activity. So yes, you're under the watch, but right now these storms, they're disorganized, they're messy, very unlikely that those are going to be producing any sort of severe weather activity. So if we can, let me know if when we have David back on. I'm curious to know where David is and what he is currently seeing. I know he was up there in northwestern part of Harris County.
Yes.
Hey, David, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Travis. I don't think I've talked with you on the air this time of morning in a long time.
A very long time. In fact, it was the February 14th, 2017 tornado outbreak we last talked at this time.
Wow, yes. Well, let me tell you what I'm doing. I was just, we were tracking these storms up to the north, and I looked down at the temperature gauge of the vehicle and noticed that it was 68, 67 degrees. And so it's just a little bit too cool, I think, not unstable enough for tornadic activity to develop. So what we've decided to do is move farther south and begin to track the storms that are right over the Richmond-Rosenberg area right now. Yeah. And those are heading a little bit farther to the north and east, and that will also put us in a better position to track the storm that's north of Bay City and the ones that are coming in from Victoria, because I think eventually those will end up being the ones that could potentially cause us a problem. So right now we're repositioning ourselves. We're on Beltway 8. We're heading south right now, passing West Road exit as we speak, and we're going to get closer to the storms that are west of Sugar Land near Richmond and Rosenberg.
Okay, good deal. And David, I just noticed on radar imagery that we are beginning to get some lightning activity in the storm that is in extreme northern Matagorda County, so just north of Bay City, starting to get some lightning activity there. So that's going to be another storm that we will want to keep a close eye on, as it has punched up a little bit higher now into the atmosphere. So just to be clear, you're headed towards the 59-69 corridor in the vicinity of Richmond and Pecan Grove region?
Yeah, and we'll try to intercept the storms that are just west of Sugar Land first, and then we'll be in a position to intercept the storm that's just north of Bay City that you spoke about just a moment ago. Okay, and then we have more in the pipe. Oh, go ahead, sorry. Yeah, as you were saying, we have more in the pipeline coming behind those. And once we get past that batch, then we should be done. But between now and probably about 2 o'clock or so, maybe even 3 o'clock, we're going to be dealing with these storms. Right. And again, the tornado watch continues until 3 o'clock. Now, oftentimes, when we see lines of storms quickly moving through, we'll get dropped out of that watch a bit early. I don't think this is one of those situations. It looks like we're going to be into that tornado watch for the full duration until 3 o'clock, based on the storm environment we're seeing and the new stuff that's building in the pipeline. I want to go back to the severe thunderstorm warning. Just got an update from the National Weather Service, and notice they've kind of chopped off the polygon, so you're no longer in the warning for those of you in the woodlands. Yes, you're getting noisy thunderstorms, but the severe part, or the part that could produce severe weather, has moved on off to your northeast. What we're looking at for the potential of severe weather is what we're seeing here in the northeastern part of Montgomery County. That's where we're seeing the shades of purple, indicating that's the most likely spot where there's going to be some hail. And so the severe thunderstorm warning continues for another 7 minutes. We'll see if it gets reissued. Based on what I'm seeing both on radar and on hail analysis, there's just not much popping up here. Looking at pea-sized hail in the vicinity of Splendora, that is a great thing. We want that warning to expire or get dropped a little bit early. But at this time, we're just not really seeing the same kind of activity that we saw earlier when that storm initially turned severe and had the warning come out in the vicinity of Spring
and the Woodlands. So that's our only active severe thunderstorm warning, which is great news. And as David just mentioned, they're heading south now. Why? Because the storm environment north of I-10 is looking a little cooler. It still could support the possibility of severe weather. It could still support some large hail, but it is not looking like it's going to support in the short term. It's the kind of rotation that can produce tornadoes. As I mentioned earlier, we're seeing the clearing in the sky in our coastal counties. That's the spot to watch here over the next couple of hours for the potential of rotating thunderstorms that could produce tornadoes. Colin?
Yeah, Travis, you're exactly right. You and David were the first ones to mention this. Now, on radar, you're seeing on the right there's the tornado watch box. But these storms, as they were saying, these are running too close together right here out near Edna. Okay, so headed up towards El Campo and Wharton. Sure, we'll still have to watch those, but the cell that they were just talking about now looks like it's really forming into a hook echo. This one in just north of Bay City. Travis just mentioned it a moment ago. That is in the best